Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Real Talk Kind of. I am your host, Hayden McGraw, and today I will be joined by.
Your other host, Griffin Murray.
And today we'll be covering. I don't know if this counts as going back on track from last episode. Last episode we covered Ride the Cyclone, which is a musical, and today we're covering.
Little Shop of Horrors, which is a musical movie first, though.
Correct, yeah, movie first, but it wasn't a musical first.
Right.
It was just a normal talkie movie.
Yeah, and then they said
which
this is
starred
boring.
Dick Miller, Jackie Joseph, who played Mr. and Mrs. Futterman in Gremlins.
Okay. You know what? Okay, you know what? We're just going to go right into this. So real quick before we get into our normal.
So if you actually look at the episode, what did we say this was episode
6?
6. Fun fact, I know all of you but 5 have listened to 5 episodes so far, right? Because this will be your 6th. Or you've listened to 4 episodes because you missed one. There's one that's titled Gremlins that you missed. I don't know why. You might have accidentally been like, oh, they probably don't know anything about that movie or something. I know a lot about it, and you need to watch that episode. So if you want to continue on with this episode, we're actually going to lock it. You have to go watch the Gremlins episode.
Wow, I cannot believe you guys just went and watched the Gremlins episode. Wasn't that a blast?
It's now unlocked. Yeah, you're good now.
Wowee. I know one thing for sure is I watched that whole episode.
I guess I edited it. I was like, you didn't even have to watch. I was like, you did watch it. You edited it, but I did.
Oh shoot!
I'll be real. I don't think I watched it.
So now that Hayden's got his little hissy fit out of the way, since he talked about what he likes, I'm going to talk about how this movie relates to what I like. At the beginning of the movie, they're running through the producers and the big logos and everything, and up pops the Geffen Company. Do you know who runs the Geffen Company?
Mr. Geffen.
It's David Geffen. Fun fact: he was a founder of DreamWorks movies.
Oh, right, yeah.
Shrek, correct. But also under the Geffen Records, the record label produced up until 2009 Weezer.
Oh, is that why you wore the shirt today?
That's why I wore the shirt today.
You love Weezer.
I got on my Blue Album shirt because ooh-wee, look at us go.
So how closely does that mean he worked with Weezer? Does that mean he directly was wheezing, or was he kind of they sent the wheezings to him?
Record labels are investments and management entities for musicians, offering funding, resources, and expertise in exchange for a share of the artist's future earnings.
So they're producers, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. All right.
But yeah, so now we both got our.
So he wheezed.
Yep, David Geffen wheezed his way right to the top.
So was Weezer? Is there overlap between Weezer and Little Shop? Were they the same time? How old is Weezer? They're 40.
Weezer, their first album was in '94. The Blue Album was in '94.
The movie came out in '86.
So probably not much overlap.
Not much, no.
But it always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
But you know who's under the Geffen Company right now?
Who?
Olivia Rodrigo.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So we could see her in Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, he's also got classic performers on his label right now. BTS.
Okay, yeah.
Dave. Nope, just Dave. Just Dave.
Is that the guy that split off from the Chipmunks?
Yep.
So they had their big breakup. The Chipmunks went off on their own way. Dave just went off by himself.
Guns N' Roses.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
Nirvana. And then people like Rob 49, which there's gonna be one person who's like, I love Rob 49.
What happened to all the other ones?
Tay Money.
Oh, Tay Money.
Yeet.
Yeet is under the Geffen Company?
Yeet is under the Geffen Company.
I didn't know that. So, Little Shop, I guess I can talk about. Well, I guess we always talk about how we got into it. Do we want to keep doing that or not?
Yeah, because I have a funny story with Little Shop, and if you know me personally, which I don't know, there's many people that listen to this that don't, but so I got into Little Shop in the January of 2021.
You're not gonna tell this story. You're not gonna talk about this, are you, on the podcast?
Oh, I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was a very weird time to get into it for reasons that if you know will make sense, and if you don't know, then you'll just go, oh well, guess I don't know.
So I remember, and this is gonna be really weird, but when I was young, my family kind of, in the summer we eat bratwursts, okay, and watermelon.
And you grabbed a bratwurst and went, feed me.
No, my parents said, and I was young, and when I was young, like I didn't. My mom had put me in front of the TV one time. I think I might have already said this on the podcast. Put me in front of the TV with Scream on, and she said, "That's the girl from ET." And then I watched her get murdered, and that traumatized me a little bit. So I had to watch like Paranormal Activity 3. Like if I was gonna watch a scary movie, I wanted to be told it was scary. So my parents were like, "You want to watch Little Shop of Horrors?" Horror is in the title. I was like, "This is gonna be scary. I'm prepared." So I watched it, and in my head, the entire time I watched it, I was like, "This is supposed to be scary, but I'm not scared. I'm cooler than this." So I really liked it after watching it. I also really liked the fact that why were they singing? That was cool. Never seen stuff like that before. I didn't know what a musical was.
Right.
I was probably, I mean, I'd had a YouTube channel, so I was probably 11, 12. No, but we'd watched it, and first of all, Audrey 2 looked like the Chomper from Plants vs. Zombies,
Right.
which I thought was cool. That's who I made in Garden Warfare. But I really, really enjoyed that movie, and then I kind of found out how closely connected it was to Gremlins through Joe Dante and Roger Corman and the original The Little Shop of Horrors being directed by Roger Corman. Like all of that kind of connected, and that's why it's kind of always stayed in that circle of movies I really always will come back to. And I really didn't get into the musical until you did. Like I enjoyed the movie musical, but not the Broadway show.
I was gonna say at the beginning, but it's good to be back. We haven't recorded in at least 3 weeks, probably
Yeah,
longer. So
that's
it's weird
true.
to be like, I mean,
We filmed ahead.
it's interesting to be on this side of the creator, where it's like we have posted 2 times since we've last
Yeah.
recorded, and like we haven't like
To them, there's been no break, but
right
to us, there's
to
been a
us
break.
there's been a month break.
I've gone to New York and came back. I went to New York for Pokemon Go Fest 2025. I'll be there probably 2026, I hope. So if you're there, hit me up. We should be famous by then.
And I just went to work.
Dubs, new job though.
New job alert.
So
Wee-oo.
yeah. So if you see me on the street and you see Griffin, feeding me, that's why. I'm traveling and he's working, so he has money and I don't. That's what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha. I was confused there.
All right. Yeah, I realized that probably made no sense as I kept rambling.
But yeah, so I feel like I guess the thing that got me into the musical, I guess, and the movie is something that has happened a lot in the last couple years, which is that so Feed Me was a popular TikTok sound at that time. So then I went to find out what that was from.
That's right.
And then I listened to it. Kind of in a similar way, Weezer, I actually only started listening to because the riff in Buddy Holly was like a meme. So I started listening to Weezer for the joke, and then it's now like they're one of my favorite bands.
Oh yeah, I mean I have a playlist on my Spotify that is basically only songs I found through TikTok. Like, I've never been a big music guy. I will stand by, like, I enjoy music now. I used to be like, I don't enjoy music, but I get it now. But really, the only way I find new songs that I enjoy that's from a new artist that I've never listened to is if I've listened to it 50 times on TikTok, and I'm like, I like that 15 seconds. Let me learn the rest of the song.
Right.
Moonbeam Ice Cream low-key got me. I cannot lie.
You've seen the musical in person. You
Yes.
watched the movie. Which one do you prefer? I guess I'll ask this in 2 ways. So which cast do you prefer? The one that you saw on the stage, or I know it's not a fair question, but it's like
what's his name? I can't think of his name right now.
Rick Moranis?
No, who I saw?
Joe Dante?
No, Jonathan. It wasn't Jonathan Groff. It was
Jimmy Johnson?
who? What? Now you're like your dad, just making up names.
Jack
What is
Nicholson?
that guy's name? No, the one guy I saw when I went to Broadway. When I went.
Oh, Jim Parsons.
No. Who's Jim Parsons?
That's the guy who plays Sheldon in Big Bang Theory.
Oh my god.
Or as he's better known as Human Walter in the Muppet movie from 2011.
Jeremy Jordan.
Jeremy Jordan.
Jeremy Jordan. Yep, that's who I saw. So when I went, I saw Jeremy Jordan, who was chill, but I still prefer Rick Moranis. I'm glad we went all through all of that, just for me to still say Rick Moranis. But yeah, I like Rick Moranis just because I think he fits that role of Seymour very well. And the movie honestly has like the Audrey. Every Audrey since then has been based off of Ellen Green's Audrey.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that is the Audrey. And honestly, Rick Moranis is kind of at that point in his life the Seymour
Right.
for that movie. So yeah, I think the movie is honestly perfect in its casting.
Even with Bill Murray's little cameo, like
Mhm.
he plays that role to a T. Like he put everything into that
Mhm.
for no reason. Like there is no reason for him to put as much effort into as he did, but he like
Which he was playing the same role that Jack Nicholson played in the original movie, which that was Jack Nicholson's first
okay.
movie.
So when I said Jack Nicholson, that's what I meant.
Yeah. You really?
No.
Did you not? Did you know he was in the original?
No, I just was naming
Really?
people.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Crazy. I didn't know. I thought you were naming it because of that, low-key.
No, I was just naming whoever I could think of. Oh, so whenever, I don't know if you do this or not, but whenever I listen to it, I listen to the off-Broadway show up until,
Some Fun Now?
no, Dentist. And I listen to the
Nice.
movie version of Dentist and I go right back to it.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
like that one way better.
You like that? Okay, I was gonna say I like to include Some Fun Now in my
I guess I also
my
listen to
listens
that.
because
Like
I like that one.
yeah, that's a
But
good one.
no, I that makes sense. I've wanted to, and I still haven't wanted to go through and make every song, but like my favorite version of them. So when I would be listening through, you'd be listening to a different Seymour probably every time,
Mhm.
but it would be every song in order with my favorite version. I should do that, but because really there's so many different versions with so many different ways they say things, and it's just
Right.
I just like the way others say things. You know what I mean?
Yep. I also like the way the others say things. I don't know.
All right, well that's been
What else?
That's been
can I
Obsessed with Movies.
Talk about. What else? Oh, so I mean, we briefly touched on this, but Rick Moranis is Seymour in the movie version of Little Shop.
Yeah.
And he's also in Ghostbusters, obviously.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Spaceballs. Like he's in all these
Yeah.
things.
Spaceballs 2, they announced it today. You see that?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that. So, but like he's always playing the same character pretty much.
Yes.
So whenever we were at GalaxyCon, I feel like every single episode is like, here's who we've met in proximity to this person. But we met Ernie Hudson, who was a Ghostbuster in the
Mhm.
original movies. And
Winston.
yeah, Winston. And you know, super nice guy. We somehow managed to get in line just at the right time as line was closing. So he was just like, basically, he was like hanging out. Like he got to
Yeah.
everybody, and he got to us, and he was like, we were
He was
just
like, yeah, take your time.
like we were just
He's like,
he
yeah.
was ahead of schedule, maybe. I don't know. He was,
I think he had to go do a panel or something. I'm not sure.
but like he was just hanging out. Like it wasn't rushed. It was just like we were talking, and as long as we kept talking, he just kept talking
Yeah.
too.
No.
Like
Yeah.
So we walk up, and I have him sign whatever I had, and I said, what's Rick Moranis like? And I felt so bad because my first question was not like, you know, what is your favorite thing you've been
Yeah.
in, or like I said like how are you, but like that's like kind of like a
No,
default. Like
yeah.
it was like my first real question to him was, what is Rick Moranis like?
I feel like I wasn't expecting because I feel like we went up there and there was a couple people in front of us, but they went so quick. And then us being last, I feel like having that time, and as we walked away, I thought of a million more questions we could have asked. But it's just being there in the moment. I always get so nervous to where my brain, everything I thought about beforehand is gone.
Right. That's why I
Like
just
I was
don't.
like, next time before we go, I need to write down things, or else I will never remember them. Like,
I knew that I wanted to ask about Rick Moranis, and that was all that I had for that whole day, basically.
you
I figured out my
should have
questions
asked
for
everybody about Rick Moranis.
I should have. I figured out my questions for Weird Al as we were standing in line. Zach Galligan as we were standing in his long line, because his line was out the
it was
door.
out the
I
door.
mean, we
Yeah.
had to scan our tickets.
Well,
back
actually, we were standing there, and he walked by us, and he was like, "Hayden McGraw, the guy that likes Gremlins." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Get to the fucking front." So we went right up there. We got everything signed. That's why we didn't wait in line that long, and we got to meet Alex Brightman and all that stuff. So
yeah.
thank
it
God
was-
I collect Gremlins.
Yeah,
It's
because-
only gotten me good things in life. Trust me.
right. Oh, but and this again, I've heard feedback that people are like, you don't stay on topic, and I remind them that
Alright.
it's in the name.
They probably
Okay.
didn't listen to the Gremlins episode. So I think if you continue listening after the first episode, you should already know what you're in for.
Exactly. Anyway, all this to be said, one thing we asked Ernie Hudson, other than how Rick Moranis was as a person and outside of being on screen, was it was something along the lines of if he liked the new Ghostbusters movies.
Like which one was his favorite? I think I asked which one was his favorite to film. Or yeah.
But he said that, and I was glad that he said this because it made me feel better about it. But I liked them, but part of me didn't know if it was because I was biased to the franchise. But as we were talking to him about it, and I said like, here's my thoughts on it, and he agreed that like it's probably one of the best revivals of those 80s era movies.
No, for sure. I
And I don't know if we've talked about this already, but
it really is one of, because it develops a new story without really treading too heavily on the original
right.
concept of the movie. And I think, not that it's a great thing, but Harold Ramis' passing kind of helped the movie in a way of like that gave him a good concept to go off, and also at a good emotional pull. I'm glad that wasn't a bad thing. Like they worked very closely with his family to make it as lifelike as possible.
It's a good example of how a film company can take these movies where there's an actor who has passed and still use them without like abusing it, like abusing that a bit that power to
paying
use them.
tribute to him without an example I'll think of is Rogue One. I like Rogue One, but at the end where they do Carrie Fisher, where I'm maybe they did just use the original movie's thing there, but I'm pretty sure they redid her like with a stand-in and then CGI'd her face. And where it's like that could be, you could try to restore the original as close as possible to keep her original thing instead of replacing her completely.
Right.
Like with Harold Ramis, they put him there, but he didn't speak. Nobody else did his voice. They just had his image there.
He was there for 4 seconds.
Yeah, like his image there, like holding the
gun.
Yeah, the proton gun, whatever. Like it was so impactful because the whole movie you knew he was there, but I didn't expect to see him, and it was so crazy. Like, I also love in the movie how all the Ghostbusters look over at him. They're like, "Oh shit!" Like,
right? Yeah, because he hasn't. I mean, I think that's one of the big things that like he hasn't shown up.
No,
because, and that's something else that was kind of interesting. How they would play it off is that the whole point of Ghostbusters is that ghosts are real.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like I don't know. They played it all very well because they could have done a million different things and made it terrible.
They could have, yeah. I mean, they could have literally done what they probably would have done 10 years before that. And, well, hell, they did how many years before Afterlife with the remake? I don't think if we didn't get that all-female remake, we would have gotten the Afterlife we got. We probably would have gotten Ghostbusters 3, but it would have been more in line with that remake, where it's, oh, look, all these 4 kids came and now they're Ghostbusters or some shit, and they accidentally killed Peter Venkman and stole his shit. Like something that like okay writes everybody else out of the movie and allows it to continue on. Which I'm glad Bill Murray has come back. I felt like when I was young and I would look up Ghostbusters stuff, Little Shop episode by the way. When I was young and look up Ghostbusters stuff, um, I would always see that like Bill Murray does not want to do it. So I was like, will we ever get it?
And I think it's kind of Bill Murray's thing all the time is that he never wants to do anything, and then it's filming day, and then he's like, "Hey guys, here I am."
I know. And then you'll hear
Like-
stuff and they'll be like, Bill Murray's actually really nice, like on set. Well, I've heard things about him being a dick too. But they're like, he can be really nice and he can be like a really happy person. But I was like, I feel like he shows up on set and he just hates his life. And they're like, dude, you didn't have to do the movie. Like, I feel like now maybe he's forced into revisiting these roles he doesn't care about. But back then it was like he'd take a job and then be like, I hate Mondays. He actually, this is a fun fact, there was a movie that never released that he did with Zach Galligan before Gremlins and never released. And then I think a few years ago it actually leaked online. So it's out there now, but it hadn't, they never released it back then.
Have you watched it?
No, I don't. It's probably not that great, I'm sure.
So anyway, Bill Murray's a great bridge right back to Little Shop.
Yes, that's
Something that I always appreciate with these movies, it's one movie, this one movie, is the puppetry they had to do and how they actually did all that. It's like with at the beginning it's just the puppet in a coffee pot or coffee tin, and like that's pretty easy to understand how they do that. But then they get that 8-foot tall plant at the end, and it's like they had to record everything and like
that's way bigger than 8 feet at the end. That's gotta be God. I mean, that thing's gigantic.
Yeah.
But
like
because I'm pretty sure the set was actually built bigger than what it was.
Oh.
Like what it forced perspective or whatever kind of thing. Because I think because you gotta remember it was big, like Seymour coming into it. No, but they have that giant Audrey 2 at the end.
Yeah.
And you know who did those, or helped make those puppets was Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
feel like... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I feel like every time I watch Little Shop, I look up who made the puppets. Or maybe I look up who the puppeteer was, but I never get Jim Henson, so I didn't know that.
No, I think his Creature Shop helped. I don't know if it was like all under his thing. I'm sure he did a lot of, or he wasn't even alive.
When was it? 84?
86 is when it came out.
He died in 1990, so he would have been...
Okay, so it's like he could have worked on Little Shop, but I was actually looking up the other day, trying to find out where the props are, because obviously when you have big animatronics and big stuff like that, there's either a 50% shot that somebody bought it, somebody kept it and has restored it, made sure it's in perfect condition, and there's a 50% chance that it is destroyed somewhere, never to be seen again. And so I was like, you know what? I've never I follow a lot of prop stuff, and I was like, I've never seen Little Shop stuff, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means it's not as common. I mean, compared to Gremlins being made, there was probably only 4 or 5 versions of Audrey 2 made, and maybe for the big one, there was only one. So I did find that the little pot, one that like Seymour has like right at the start of the movie, that still exists, and the last time it was seen in 2006 at one of the Los Angeles prop shows, and then it also was on display next to the Feed Me Audrey 2, and you can see all like the cable and wirings, and that was also seen in 2006. But that is the last time they were seen. People hope that they still have them, but there's no proof of them anywhere. But I think hopefully if I'm able to go visit, I'm going to break into their prop and break into the back prop thing and ask whoever's standing right there, be like, hey, I just broke in. Can I politely be guided to the Audrey 2 props?
I'm not saying that this confirms that Jim Henson worked on it, but Muppet Vision 3D was released opened in 1991, and that was the last thing he worked on.
Okay.
So he could have worked that was the last thing he, I'm guessing, was like Kermit and did
Mhm.
voice his actual puppeteering for. So, interesting fact:
Oh,
Frank Oz directed and shot Little Shop, the movie
who is the voice of
of
Yoda?
Piggy and Animal and Fozzie.
Ah, and Yoda.
Oh, he does Yoda as well.
He's Yoda also. Sorry, but Heather Henson is one of the dental patients, which is Jim Henson's daughter, and Brian Henson was a principal puppeteer on Audrey 2, which is his son.
Mm.
So his kids had a role in it,
That's
which
fun.
isn't one of his kids also like one of the leads for the Five Nights at Freddy's one?
I know that Brian Henson is like the, I don't know if president's the right word, but like he's in charge of the Creature Shop. I had no idea that Little Shop was directed by Frank Oz. That makes sense then why Jim
It says
Henson
it's a
would
Frank
done.
Oz film when you watch it.
What?
It makes sense why it says a Frank Oz film when you
Does it
watch
really?
Yeah.
I just never put it together.
No, but that's what I watched a video a long time ago, and this is the only reason I know that is because they were like Little Shop or something. It was like brought to you by Yoda, and I was kind of like, huh? And I remember saying something to my dad, and my dad's like, yeah, that's the guy who did. I don't know if he voiced Yoda or did the puppetry for Yoda, but Frank Oz is one of them.
I bet he did the voice. It sounds like him. Let's see. Performing. Oh, and Sam Eagle. I didn't know that. Cookie Monster, Burt,
Oh, Sam
Grover.
I think it is crazy how many characters they voiced. But how did they do that when? Did they puppeteer and voice at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
So how do they do multiple characters if they voice same characters, or do they purposely not do that? Like, do they plan separate?
I'm pretty sure that because in the first Muppet movie, Kermit and Rolf have a full song together, and those are both Jim.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm pretty sure that they would record it,
And then
and Jim.
for one character.
From what I remember and what I've heard, Jim, if Kermit was in the scene, Jim was puppeteering Kermit, no matter what.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if not, then he would do whoever he was voicing. I don't know. I'm like acting like I'm over here voicing the.
He's puppeteering over here.
I'm over here puppeteering. But like somebody else would step in, like for Rolf, and
Okay.
they would do the puppeteering for Rolf, and then they would, I'm guessing,
Dub the voice later.
dub the voice over it.
Okay. I was like, I wonder if you go back and watch those movies, how many times you can see them try to avoid like having the same puppeteered characters like on the screen at the same time. Like they might be all in the same picture together, but then they'll like cut with just two characters and then two characters here, something like that. I was like, I don't know. I guess in the movies they all kind of have feet at times.
They've always done that though, even in the first one.
Oh, did they really?
Mm-hmm. In the first movie, they go to the El Sleazo bar, and Fozzie and Kermit dance on the bar.
Like you actually see their feet?
See their feet, okay. Like
because that's like a big thing, you know. For back to Gremlins, but you never see them walk in Gremlins until Gremlins 2. You see Gizmo, but in the first movie, you never see them walk. They just couldn't do the feet. Like that's just crazy.
So I'm guessing they have the other person just read the script,
and just
so they can get the pacing down for the other people,
and then he'll fill in later. That makes sense. So it is cool. Like, so his family was involved in Little Shop. His Creature Shop was.
Well, there's so one more thing with Jim Henson, then we'll move back to Little Shop. But if you look, because you're talking about his kids being involved in stuff, so Disney Plus used to have a show called Prop Culture, where they did Muppets and like Mary Poppins and I don't remember, a couple other random movies, and this guy would go around the country or wherever and track down the old props and stuff.
Oh man.
So he went to
I would love to do that.
Jim Henson's Creature Shop and met with Brian Henson. And like you could see and hear like Brian had this love for the Muppets because of how much his dad, like it was neat to see So it was like he was very
He's carrying the legacy.
yeah, he was very genuine and like being excited about like everything that Muppets, Sesame
Mhm.
Street, all that stuff that he did, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, like Fraggle Rock. I think he hit them all the big ones. But like he just like genuinely appreciates the work that his dad did, and that was just something like kind of nice to see. And then they're in that and the dentist scene and like all that
Mhm.
stuff. To see them actually there and participating is like
Yeah. No, it's weird to see how closely involved everything is. I mean, to think of Frank Oz, I mean, because he did a lot of the stuff for Muppets too.
mm-hmm.
So it's like seeing him work with that for the Audrey 2 puppets to make that, like, all of that kind of come together to make this movie. And then to get Rick Moranis after Ghostbusters. Yeah, it would have been after Ghostbusters, where he's kind of coming off of that. I don't know if he was coming off of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids yet. But like he already played that kind of nerd gatekeeper, very nerdy kind of role in Ghostbusters, to then carry that over to Little Shop, and he nails that role so well, and nails it so well. So in the stage in the musical, if you've never watched the musical, at the end of the musical, everybody dies. In the end of the original movie, everybody dies. But the original ending was so poorly received, people were so attached to Seymour and Audrey that they reshot the ending, which the ending cost half the budget or like a quarter of the budget.
it was a lot.
Yeah,
Like it was.
like they filmed a whole 5 minutes or 5 7 minute sequence of Audrey 2's attacking New York City and all this stuff. Like, and they cut all that to make a more happy ending. I just think that's crazy because it's just like the idea of them scrapping that much stuff today for a movie sounds
They wouldn't do it. They
like
would say
no.
whatever. I
Like
mean,
you would see that because like Sonic, okay, when they scrapped the about half the Sonic movie that they were doing to remake Sonic, that was everywhere. That was a massive thing.
mm-hmm.
But I feel for like Little Shop, that was like a risk they were willing to take for the movie to be successful. And sadly, it really wasn't that successful until way later on when it came on VHS, which a lot of movies had that life cycle of failing in the theaters because it was hard to get people to theaters. You had to give them advertisements on TV, so that means that people had to be home watching TV, which not everybody was at the time. And if they didn't see that, they didn't go to the movies. So then when things came out on VHS and you were able to watch them whenever, that's when some movies became huge cult classics.
I think that. So I looked it up. Ghostbusters was 84. Ghostbusters was 84. Little Shop was 86. So he was, and then Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was 89.
Okay.
Um, Something that I think is interesting with some of these movies. In Little Shop, I know because I mean I have most of these. Is how long it has been a viable movie to continue printing. So I have Little Shop on Laserdisc, which is, I mean, years before we were born. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't even know when I don't know what it's
That's like the 80s because
yeah,
Gremlins is Laserdisc, but Gremlins 2 I don't think is. So I think it's done by the 90s, but it was like the 80s
right.
kind of thing.
Yeah. So they have Laserdisc, VHS, DVDs, Blu-rays, now streaming. It's like to go through all the major like video formats is kind of impressive. I mean, I know like it's I mean there's a handful. It's hard to kind of get the thought fully because you walk into Walmart and you walk to the movies from the 80s section
Mm-hmm.
and there's 7 of them, 10 of them, 12 of them that all
Yeah.
they've all done this, but it's like if you look at like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, that might be a poor example because Disney has a crazy budgets for everything. But like there's tons of movies that have not lasted that
Oh
span
no.
of
It is, and I think that is going back to what I said. I've almost paused a few episodes ago. I feel like the mixture of the puppetry and the acting of the time makes those movies timeless. The actors are really acting to something there. They're physically there. Everything's physically there, and I think that's what makes them timeless movies. I don't know why, but I feel like something psychologically makes it.
and that's why FNAF was as good as it was.
Yeah, it'll be timeless. Literally, like I don't know about that, but hopefully, to me it will be. But who really knows? Recently, they announced, this was probably about a year ago, they announced that Charles Hass and Joe Dante were going to be directing a new Little Shop of
Oh,
Horrors.
right.
And now, about a year later, we did find out that that was now canceled. But they announced they were doing it when Roger Corman was still alive, and then he passed away a few months later, so it kind of stayed in limbo. And now they deconfirmed it. But I was looking into it more, and I remembered that in 2020 there was a remake, or a little bit before 2020, there was a remake that was happening, like really, of Josh Gad as Seymour and then Chris Evans as the dentist. But then COVID happened and it all kind of fell through. And Chris Evans went on a few years ago and kind of was like, "Yeah, it's basic." He's like, "I would love to do it, but there's no talks of it
Right.
anymore."
It would have to basically be
So
restarted.
yeah, so that's like it's back at ground zero, which sucks because that is like
That's a good.
some good casting right there. Like I would
Yeah.
enjoy that a lot, and I think that would, because that would have been right after our Endgame was still. I feel like I don't know what year anything is. I was like, I feel like he was just getting done being Captain America at the time.
Yeah, Endgame was 2019.
Okay, yeah, because he was just coming off of Captain America. Yeah, and I was like, that would have been really cool. But then I remember them doing interviews talking about it, and then COVID hit, and I remember it being almost immediately like Chris Evans did an interview where he's like, yeah, they haven't said much anymore. Like it's sad because that's such a cool idea, but I do think within the next 10 to 15 years we'll see Little Shop get remade. Whether or not it will be good is up in the air because I think the first movie there's not much in that first movie I think needs to be remade. I think if you restore the original ending, which they did in the Blu-ray cut in like 2012, I think that's really all they need to do. I think you got your final version of that movie perfect right there. Maybe if they wanted to go back, because like the Meek Shall Inherit, they still have never restored that completely. They actually just leaked a work print of that online, maybe 2 or 3 months ago,
Oh,
like
really?
a higher quality version.
That is one thing that I would like them to go back and write in some of the off-Broadway songs, because there are certain ones that I really feel do build the story a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if it's not the full songs, but some of those plot points that they're there, but they kind of get like, I don't know, swept under the rug or just not even brought up. But I just like Closed for Renovation.
Yeah.
That song, they don't have to show it because that all happens in Some Fun Now, but it's like to have that like kind of, progression of this store is, getting more popular.
Booming. Yeah.
And they have to renovate and change stuff and adapt to that. Like it's just like they could do a lot with those things that they have basically laid out for them.
Mm-hmm. That's where it's like I feel like watching the musical on stage, they do kind of get more into the business is kind of booming kind of thing, to where the movie doesn't touch upon, and I think on purpose, because that's, or not on purpose, but this is what led to people getting so attached, is in the musical they show, hey, the business is successful but my life sucks, like,
Right.
and it's like I don't know which to sacrifice. But the movie, it's more sacrificing the girl for the plant, where I feel the musical kind of does. I mean, it is the girl for the plant, but it's also the business. Like,
Right.
and especially Mushnick adopting Seymour changes it too. Of like, I can't get rid of it now because now I have a dad. Like, I have a family.
Right.
I don't want to get rid of all this stuff. To where in the movie, it's more just like
it puts more
him and the
stakes.
plant,
Yeah.
or him and the girl.
It puts more stakes behind the decision rather than just being like, oh well, my choice is either kill the plant or lose my new
Or
girlfriend.
lose Audrey. And it's honestly, nothing in the movie even shows him that he'll lose Audrey if that happens. You know what I mean? He thinks that, but that doesn't mean that it's actually going to
No.
happen. But in the musical, I can tell you for a fact, like, Mushnick only wants him as a son because of the plant.
Right.
Like, the business is only booming. They only have money because of the plant. I feel like he'd be just as happy without the money in the movie. Like, he just wants Audrey. Like, that's his
Right.
bottom line.
It'll be interesting to see where they go with it, because I think that there's, especially with the musical running and still running, and it I mean,
It
it keeps
doesn't seem it's with
getting picked up.
yeah, with Elizabeth Gillies on it, it's like a new peak basically. Like
It,
it's millions of views on TikTok after millions of views. Like it's getting bigger, I think, more
yeah,
and more by the day. There was advertisements all over.
really.
There was an advertisement in Times Square last time I went, and there was those papers all over the central station. No, if you haven't seen Little Shop, coincidentally, it is also free on YouTube right now. So if you want to watch that, the original Little Shop of Horrors, if you ever want to watch that, you can legally steal that. It's non what is it called? It's in the public domain. It's in the public domain, so you can just. I try to look up a clip from it for a video I was trying to make, and it's really hard to find a clip because everybody just re-uploads the entire movie because they legally can. So it's like, all right, but I don't want to download the whole thing.
Right.
But yeah, I honestly think that's it.
It's one of those things. It's hard. Like sitting down, I was like, "Oh yeah, Little Shop, I got this." And then I was like, "What do I say?"
I mean, we could ramble on. I think we
Yeah.
try to keep them at about an hour. I think
No, I think we're good. I think we did it.
we did it, guys. We did another
Yay!
episode. Speaking of which, if you have listened to this episode and you really enjoyed it, you might have missed the Gremlins episode. I saw Griffin put out a thing on Instagram the other day. The views didn't go up very much, so you guys might have missed that too. And if you're missing it, if you don't want to watch it, just be real with me and go on to that video, watch the entire thing, and then comment why you didn't want to watch it, so that I understand.
Yes, and please make sure to comment it 3 times because sometimes
Yeah.
Spotify and YouTube will lose a comment. It's like
Yeah.
mail. They try to mail us the comment and they lose it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So please comment a couple times. Say that you liked it.
reply to others' comments while you're down there.
If you didn't like this video, hit the thumbs down button twice to really lock in that
Oh,
hatred.
that's true. Yeah, because it's a new feature. You lock.
Yeah,
in
you gotta
hatred,
hit it twice.
And that was Little Shop of Horrors. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I've been your host, Hayden McGraw. What the